carefully. This is a long document, has a lot of information. And actually, toward the end of the document, it explains what type of deliverables are expected of you. Okay? So I'll go to the end of the document for now and explain what is expected of you to submit next week. Is that you have to submit your written report, answering questions, right? And you have to submit all these applications you created, forms, reports, and electronic copy of the application itself. But if you submit the copy and you explain about the things that you created for the forms and reports, I can look up those information. Actually, I don't want you to create, a lot of waste, having to print out these forms and reports, because I can look it up. As long as you provide working electronic copy, that's number 4. That's the most important thing. And this one is number 1. Number 1 and number 4 are the most important thing. Okay? And you don't have to do presentation about this homework assignment. So that's just something extra that they indicate you need to do, but you don't have to do it. I'm not requiring you to do it. Okay? Just written report and then working electronic copy of the Access application. That's all I need, basically. But if you want to make sure you have the right information, right answer, then you can print out and then you can visually make sure, right? And you deliver all the major queries that you have to create up there that I'll explain a little bit. So we can go back to the beginning of the document and start reading it.
You said written report?
Written report asking, what are those kind of ideas you got? So it's kind of summary of what you've done. You made a lot of effort to make this whole assignment work, right, for you. So, it is asking, what are those inputs, what other inputs could you provide to make it better? Because this is certainly a very basic step, right? This is the very basic application that actually organize your information, sales information of cookies for your not-for-profit organization, right? Certainly there are room for expansion, right? This is not like end of the application, okay? So it is asking, what are those lessons you learned from doing this? What are those future extensions you can implement into this homework assignment? What are those things you could apply it otherwise? Because this is not the best way of doing, database application for the organization. There are going to be some other way of doing it. Maybe you could come up with different tables or different fields for different tables. Again, this project is making you think, is that the right way of organizing data for this organization? Just because it's given to you, try to do it and forget about it. It is asking you to think about the way you organize your data in a way that is going to make your work a little bit more efficient. It's just doing it kind of without thinking, that's not the whole point, okay? So that's the written part. And actual work will be delivered in that electronic copy of the application. To be able to do that successfully, you have to start reading this case background. Why you need to do this type of work for the organization, in this case, not-for-profit organization. What they are trying to achieve. Once you familiar with this kind of case background and case scenario and understand what they are trying to achieve, then you have to start reading information about first storage. Storage specification is actually telling you what are those information that I want to see in table format. Cookie table, category table, checkout table, sales table, somehow they organize the tables already for you. But you could have done it different ways. Then if you thought about anything, different ways of doing it, you can provide that information in the written report so that I can see how much thought you put into the project. Okay? So we have category table structure that has only 2 fields in it. Okay, one is cat ID and then the other is cat description, cat disk. And it shows what data type it is expecting. What is that about? I just had a short conversation with MIS student working in independent project, MIS 199, and he's developing a database application for winery he's working. Okay, winery, they have many different ways of making money. They sell wines, they have events, they have different type of wines, different type of ways of selling wines, like in glass, something like that. So you have to organize your thought about these business processes and come up with tables that are important to build this application for them, so that this not-for-profit small organization, they are wasting a lot of time managing data. They don't even know how much money they are making from each event. They simply hire people, a bunch of people, wasting a lot of money. They want to know how much money they are putting in and how much money they are getting in. But to be able to know that information, right now they are spending a lot of time, management times. Instead of putting those times creating interesting events and marketing, advertising plan, they simply look at their data, Excel spreadsheet right now, spending all day to figure out how much money have we earned, like from last event, last week. They don't even know. So they don't know how to improve their business itself. Big trouble. So they are hiring this MI student, getting some help from, access application that this student can develop for them, so that they can simply submit query. How much money did I earn from event last week? Boom, the output is there, like $500. How much did you spend for that? Expense report, you spent $300 by hiring performers, band, all that kind of stuff, music stuff, right? And also the cost information about the wine itself, glass itself, how many people they hired. Now they know how much profit margin they are making from last event versus last month's event versus some time ago. And they can make a future improvement plan based on that. Until that point, before they couldn't do any of those kinds of things. They simply organize it without information, based on pure past experience as a student, kind of following the same tradition. And they're not making a lot of money at this point. And now they understand, they realize they are in trouble. So they are trying to use database application like that. And the first step is I'm asking him to do is that come up with the right business scenario. Think about the business requirements that they need to make and come up with a very, very solid structure first. Like that, category table and cookie table, seller table. Their case is different. Their table is like event table, wine table, product table, event table, performer table. Their table is different. But anyway, so several pages is devoted to talk about this different type of table structure. They seem to be long, but it has same format. It talks about primary key, it talks about fields, it talks about data specification. It's all about storage specification up to this point, right? Just happen to be several pages because there are five tables. Just all same information, similar type of information. Once you figure that out about the tables, then the next step is to provide input. Okay, you have to provide event information into your database. Otherwise, you cannot collect information about this event last week. So you have to provide performer information, event information, wines information, glasses information, all this kind of servers information into this database. How do you get that information into the database? You have to have input structure. What is that? This form. Okay, forms you have to create. Like what form? Seller form. Who are the sellers? What information we need to provide into the database so that we can retrieve those information a little bit later when we need it. Cookie form. Checkout form. Sales form. Again, we use several pages to show different types of forms you can create for your business. In this case, not-for-profit business. Once you're done with that, then it explains about information specification. What information we are looking for from that. Then it talks about like reports that you have to create. Now, this is the stage where we produce a lot of useful information for management to look at so they can improve their businesses. So now it's generating daily cookie income report, and things like that. Based on what? You gotta know what information you need. You want to see in the report. What type of report you want to generate? It could be anything. If you are from accountancy area, you create income report, revenue report, expense report, budget report, inventory report. You report a bunch of different things, right? That's what they're asking in their own context. How many cookies? Who sold it? How much? How much expense? All that information is already included in the table. So once you are done with the query generation part, then you can simply convert this query into the form of a report that users will see, and act on it. Then by that time, now implementation. That's the last piece. This is implementation and testing phase. Before you turn in your electronic copy of this Access application, you have to test it to make sure it is producing right information. What if you made a mistake in the query and your sales information is producing wrong sales information? That's a nightmare. You don't want to see that. You better not have, you might as well not having those kinds of application. Just go back to this manual processing, because at least it is giving you accurate information even though it takes a lot of time, right? So you have to make sure, before you turn in, you have to make sure, it looks good, because you're now producing reports to your boss. You don't want to be embarrassed by giving them really clumsy, kind of ugly reports, so to speak, right? And then test your design by entering information, retrieving some information, things like that. So again, use several pages to explain all those kinds of things. And think about creating a report. In this case, income sales summary report. Because that's the kind of the most important piece for the business owners. We are doing all of these things because of that information needs, right? Of course, we can streamline business process a little bit by giving them tools for them to enter information in a more, effective way than before using manual processing. Then, test deliverables. We've been there before, right? That's how this guideline group project is organized. If we go higher level of difficulty, we have more number of tables, more number of calculations, more number of functions, more number of business activity report they want. It adds more stuff to it. But basically, it is the basic skeleton of any type of database application. If you want to expand on it, you can use some Visual Studio or some type of integrated application development using web-based interface and stuff like that to interact with the database structure, but we're not going there. That is for advanced MIS class. You don't have to go there for now, okay? So, how do you do that? Simply go to menu, double click, access application, then we will use a blank database application, and first thing you have to do is like import, right? How do we import? Go to external data. You don't have to use a lot of these functions. For this project, there are only several places you need to go. One is external data, and you go to Excel, right? And go identify the location of the source data file, and open it. Once you identify, click OK. As you can see, as we discussed, there are 5 tables in it, right? And we need to import all of them because we need information from all of them. So click the first one, next, and as you can see, the first row contains heading, so that's not data. Next, and some students confused about at this stage, okay? There are 2 different ways actually. One, you can make the data format and all of that at this stage based on that information given here. Go back to storage specification for table structure. So now we have table structure here. It could be, for example, seller table. We got 4 fields, okay? And this is about the characteristics of the specific field, right? And then, same thing goes for other areas, right? So you do that, right? And you can specify these data types and index the information, all of that in this stage by going to like different fields, or simply import this Access spreadsheet into Access and then make changes in that Access application environment. Which one is easier? To make it consistent, don't spend a lot of time in this stage. Keep moving on, right? Just identify the primary key. That's the only thing you have to be concerned about. Even though you're not designated primary key, don't have to worry about it. We'll do it in Access environment again later. You have an opportunity. So just keep going. And the only thing you have to be concerned about is that How many fields were there in the table?
4.
4. Now the system is automatically adding another field. Okay, so now you have 5 fields. Something that you don't want to see. It happened because you collect this first option. Let the access add primary key. You already know what primary key of this table because that's what you're given in that description. See here, for example, as table 3 shows, the seller ID field uniquely identifies each student and then serves as the primary key. The text explains about what you should do. Okay, so based on that information, I'll choose my own primary key following the description that you find from the guideline. Okay, so I'll pick the second option, and the primary key will be CID, cookie ID. No surprise, right? No brainer. And next, and determine the name of the table and finish OK. And you don't have to use this kind of function because we are dealing with a small number of data tables, right? So we imported a cookie table and double click on it. Looks exactly the same as it was before, right? Now it is time to go to design view and change the setting to make it consistent with what is required of. In the first place, is that it is saying,
The long leader.
yeah, this is cookie. This is for seller table. Seller ID is going to be number, and the description says it's going to be primary key, and the field size is long integer, and this is going to be required field. Okay, so how do we do that? Go to access table and making sure this is consistent with what's given. CID number, cookie name, short text, and our cost is currency. Okay, so here number, text, currency. Okay, number. This is that what? Okay, is that what you're looking at? Oh, we imported cookie table, right? So number, text, currency. Okay, so here you see number and the rest of the things. So you select the first field, and it says it's not just number, but it's using a long integer as a field size. Where do you get that? Go to access and go to bottom, and it says field size. Right now it is defined as double. Okay, so I'll click this combo box and find the right type, field size, long integer, and move on to the next. Right now, we are okay for the primary key designation because you see the key in front of the field, right? If you want to change it to like cookie name, for example, simply go to another field and click that key. But that's not what's required though. In our case, we are using CID as the primary key. So you don't have to do anything about it. Just make sure the data type, field size is consistent. Otherwise, when you're trying to connect this field with foreign key primary relationship, it's not going to work if they are different. That's why it is an important piece of information before you move on. Okay? So second one is a short text. And short text is the name of the cookie package, and the field size, you want it to be 50. So how do I change that? Go to here and change number, 50. Don't afraid to make any changes. If you screw up, you can redo. Okay? It doesn't take a lot of time. You actually learn from making mistake like that. Okay? And go to the next cat ID. Almost same thing, but this time the size is 25. I forgot to mention this one, change required. It says required here, right? Required. It is specified as no. You can change it to yes. Right? That easy. Move on. Okay? You can save it. Right? Oops, did I? Oh, okay, here, right here. Yeah, I think okay, it's right here. So you can do the same thing like that, okay? You can change this to 25 here, right? Just like that. So, one table is imported successfully. Moving on, So next one. Okay, so go back to external data, Excel, identify the source file, and okay, moving on. Okay, now seller table. Next, first, this option checked. Next, don't have to worry about it a lot. We will do it in Access environment. But if you want to do it, you have to go one by one. It's going to be a little bit different, in terms of how it looks. But you'll have to find the compatible information for that. But I want you to do it in Access environment, unless, if you really insist on doing it here. Next, choose my own primary key because seller ID is the key we know. Next, the name is already correctly identified. Finish. So, close. Now we imported second table. Okay. And you repeat the same process again. You have to make sure now the seller table now has all the information specified here. It has number, text number, long integer 25 to 55. Okay, so how do you do that? Okay, it's integer, text, 50, 25, cost. Okay, and that's what you have to do. Right? Making sure it is all there. And import the next one. Okay, now sales table, next, because I'll do it later. And primary key is going to be what in this case? This is kind of a little bit